This is lesson 1.1 in intermediate algebra, and it starts on page 3. The name of this section is Fundamental Definitions and Notations. So for the most part, what we're going to do here is go over some review of previous math courses you may have. So top of page 4, it gives you some operation symbols, and just so that you remember, operation symbols are just the plus, minus, multiplication symbol, and the division symbol that you used when you were in elementary school, basically. And if you're in an upper level math, you've noticed that these symbols have been replaced by other symbols, and that's like math could just kind of change things on you. So instead of writing a 3 times 4 in algebra, what they'll do is rather than make the X looking symbol, they will put a dot there to represent 4, or they will put a parenthesis around one of the numbers so it doesn't look like 34, and that means 3 times 4. Or sometimes they'll even put a parenthesis around both numbers or letters, and that is showing that we're talking about multiplying 3 and 4. Division is the same way. Division, you're used to this symbol right here, but we're going to make a couple changes here in algebra. We either write it as 9 divided by 3, so that line, that fraction bar, or whatever you want to call it, is a division sign. And that's pretty much how we are going to show division in algebra. So you've got a couple different ways to show multiplication, this one way to show division, and then your traditional plus and minus signs to show plus and minus. And then there's some comparison symbols in the middle of the page. I'll let you glance at those, and we'll just kind of move on. One of the things that's important as far as math is concerned is most of the crazy, weird stuff in math is just trying to take the English language explanation of what one needs to be done in a problem and change it to symbols so that it is shorter. So if we have something like 3 plus 4 equals 7, or equals nothing, we don't put anything there. In English, that's written as 3 plus 4 equals 7. In math, they just symbolize it by taking out a lot of the words and adding symbols there in order for it to be written quicker and easier. The bottom of page 4, it talks about exponents. And if you remember from other math courses, an exponent is the little number that's up there. It's also called a superscript. So if you want to look real smart, you can write that as superscript, because super means above and script means writing. So that's what that is the exponent. This 3 here is the base. So the two parts to an exponential expression. So if we have 3 squared, that again is a symbol for writing 3 times 3. So rather than writing 3 times 3, we're just going to write 3 squared. This number here means that's how many times we're going to take the base times itself. So if we had 3 to the 6th power, rather than writing 3 times 3 times 3, etc., we just write this because it's quicker and easier to write. And we know, being mathematical geniuses like we are, that 3 to the 6th power means 3 times itself 6 times. It does not mean, and I catch students doing this a lot, even though they know that 3 to the 6th power means 3 times 3 times 3, da 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 da, they sometimes will get in a hurry and just write 3 times 6 is 18 and get the wrong answer. So just remember that 3 to whatever power tells you how many times you're going to multiply that 3, or whatever number that is, times itself. Brings us to part C of section 1.1, middle of page 5, and it's called the orders of operation. Some of you may have learned the orders of operation being P, E, M, D, A, S. And you have called that PEMDAS. And some students use the acronym, Please Excuse My Dear Aunt Sally. So if you want to use Please Excuse My Dear Aunt Sally for that, that's fine. I just generally just call it PEMDAS. And it is telling us what order we are going to do the different operations that we're supposed to do. Now, it's not that one order is right and another order is wrong. It's just mathematicians had to get together and come up with a way, or come up with a list of rules, is how you would combine numbers in a certain order so that everybody did it the same things, or the same way. So, for example, when we've got something like that, there is a certain order in order to solve that. Now, if, for instance, I decided I was going to go from left to right, I'd get 5 plus 3 is 8, times 2 is 16, plus 4 is 20. If I did 2 plus 4 first and got 6, times 3 is 18, plus 5, I get 23. So see how I get two different answers depending on what order I solve the problem. So therefore, they came up with some rules that everybody follows so that everybody gets the same answer when they look at this. So the order of operations says you do what's inside the parentheses first, if you can. If you can't, you go to the next step. So do what's in the parentheses first. So that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to kind of make this long. 2 plus 4 is 6. Okay, so that's the first step. Second step says take whatever is in the exponent and solve it. We don't have any exponents. There's not any little numbers up here in the corners. So we go to the next one. Then it says do all the multiplication, and we start on the left and move to the right. And actually, the way this works, the M and the D are really together. You do either the multiplication or the division from left to right. As you come upon it from left to right, you do the multiplication or the division. In this case, we start here. We've got a 5 plus. Nope, that's not multiplication, or division. But we do have a 3 with a 6 here. And if you remember from the top of page 4, this is one of the symbols for multiplication. So I do that. And that gives me then my answer of 23, and that is the correct answer because we followed the rules of PEMDAS in order to get that. So let's look at number 6 in the examples, bottom of page 5. We've got 5 times 2 cubed minus 4 times 3 squared. I don't know why this keeps disappearing on me. Okay, so it says do what's in parentheses first. We ain't got no parentheses. Then it says do the exponents. So we're going to do what's in the exponents. 2 times 2 is 4 times 2 is 8. Minus 4 times 3 squared is 9. Okay, so we did what was in the exponent, or we did the exponents. Now it says multiplication or division from left to right. So these two are going to give me 40. Minus these two are going to give me 36. That gives me 4 for an answer. Now, don't fall into the trap of 5 times 8 is 40, minus 4 is 36 times 9. Okay, so just be careful when you're doing that to follow the rules of PEMDAS, or you will almost in all instances get it wrong. So let's keep going here. I'm on page number 6, and one of the things that you'll find out when it comes to finding the value of algebraic expressions is that you are able to have a variable. Remember, a variable is just a letter that's in a math problem. So if we have x squared plus 5, if I can get this thing to work, the x is the variable. Now, sometimes they will give you an expression like that. And the difference between an expression and an equation is the expression does not have an equal sign. You're not solving for x. All you can do is simplify it or make the expression simpler. In this case, it's as simple as it can go, so you really can't do anything there. But finding the value of an algebraic expression means that they have to tell me what x is in order for me to find the value of that. So if they tell me that x equals 2, whenever I see a 2, I'm going to replace it, or an x, I'm going to replace it with 2. So that gives me 2 times 2 is 4, plus 5 is 9. So what I did is I put the 2 that x is equal to in for x so that I could solve this. And they will give you some, as you're looking at some of these problems, that are a lot more complicated than that. In fact, they may give you one like on the top of page 7 that says 3x plus 4y plus 5. And they'll say x equals 6 and y equals 7. So what they're asking you to do is whenever you see an x, you put a 6 in there. I like to put them in parentheses. And then 4 times y, or since y equals 7, I'm going to put that in there, plus 5. Now I can use my PEMDAS from left to right. 18 plus 28 plus 5. And then you add those 3 up, and you end up getting 51. So that is what happens when you are finding the value of an algebraic expression. When they tell you, which they have to, they tell you what x equals and what y is equal to. So I'm going to shut this video down because it is 12 minutes and start a second video as we continue on in the middle of page 7.